Okay, good morning, boys and girls. Um, Today is an exciting day because we are going to be starting our new science unit talking about animal adaptations. And what's really cool about animal adaptations is, as you remember in our last unit, we were talking about how animals either live in groups or do not live in groups that help them survive. But talking about animal adaptations, we're going to be uncovering different traits that animals personally have that enables them to live and survive in their environment. So as we go through this video today, boys and girls, one thing that I am going to be asking you to do is to hit the pause button at certain points throughout the lesson so that you can do some work in your workbook just the way we always do when we're introducing one of our new units, okay? So just to get started, I want everyone to open up to page 186 in their science workbooks. And up at the top, it should say adaptations, and there should be a picture of a polar bear in the middle. And then there's a little paragraph below that I'm going to read to you, and I would like for you to follow along with me. So, polar bears live in the cold Arctic. They grow a coat of thick fur to stay warm. Two friends were at a zoo in Florida. The zoo had a polar bear exhibit. They wondered how the polar bear could live in Florida where it was very warm. This is what they said. Suzanne says the polar bear will try to adapt by growing less fur. Milo says the polar bear will not try to adapt by growing less fur. Okay, so one connection that I had when reading this little paragraph is I'm sure you've been to the Turtleback Zoo or maybe some other local zoos, and you do see some animals that don't typically live in New Jersey or in our area being able to survive there. So that was really interesting, and I'm hoping we're able to maybe uncover why that is as we go through this unit. So what I want you to do now is where it says, who do you agree with most? I want you to write down whether you agree with Milo or if you agree with Suzanne. And then underneath, where it says explain why you agree, I want you to do your best to write in complete sentences why you agreed with that person. And as we always say, we're not necessarily expecting you to know the answer to this right now. It's just kind of an introduction. And as we always do on the first day of our science units, we're not actually going to go over what the right answer is today because we are going to revisit this um, later on in the unit to see if A, you were correct, and or B, maybe you weren't. But either way, would you change your answer after you go through learning is really more what I was trying to get at after you do learn about different animal adaptations. So what I would like for you to do um, now is you can pause this video and I would like for you to answer the question on page 186. And when you have answered it, you can hit resume, play, and we'll move on. Okay, welcome back, boys and girls. Now I'd like for you to look at page 187 in your science workbook where it says Science in Our World. Okay, and up at the top it says explore the digital interactive different birds and observe the photos. The birds are similar to each other in some ways and very different in others. What questions do you have? So now I would like for you to pause the video again, and I want you to log into Inspire Science if you have not already done so, and I would like for you to view the digital interactive of the four different clips, or not clips, four different pictures that are labeled different birds under your assignments. And as you're viewing the different pictures, I want you to jot down on the lines below that question on page 187 any questions that you might have about these birds. Okay, so I'm going to let you hit pause now, and then resume when you're ready to move on. Okay, welcome back, boys and girls. So, as you were writing down your questions, I also had jotted down a few that popped into my head as I was flipping through these different pictures. One of the questions that I had is I wrote that I wondered where they lived, because it seemed like some of the birds might be in a more cold climate, where others seemed like it might be a little bit warmer where they were. The penguins looked like they were someplace that had snow, so I'm assuming it was pretty cold. And the toucan, I believe it seemed like it might be more in like a rainforest. So it made me wonder where on our planet these birds actually are living. Something else that I wrote was, what do they eat? I was wondering what these birds typically eat, because some of them seem to be really small and others seem to be really, really large. Some of the penguins were pretty small and the hummingbird was pretty small, but the emu or the ostrich was pretty big. So it seemed like they might have more of an appetite. They're going to need more food to survive. And then the last question that I had that I think really focuses on maybe some of the animal adaptations is, I was wondering why some of the birds look different. When I looked at the toucan, it was very, very bright colors and had this very large beak. Whereas the emu was a lot larger and the colors were very dull. The penguins, the penguins were mostly white, and I wonder if that has anything to do with where they live. If they live in an area where there is a lot of snow, I wonder if that has anything to do with maybe um, the color of their coats. Okay, so now what I would like to do is look down at the bottom of workbook page 187, where it introduces our STEM career connection. And our STEM career connection for this unit is an ornithologist, okay? Or ornithologist, I'm sorry, boys and girls. And I'm going to read this paragraph to you now, and then we're going to take a look at the questions on page 188. So I always love introducing the different careers, because maybe this is something that you'll want to be someday, if this is a topic that you happen to be particularly very interested in. So, STEM career connection. Ornithologist. I'm an ornithologist, a scientist who studies birds. There are thousands of different types of birds. I get to travel around the world to study the traits of birds. Birds are different in different places. My favorite place is the rainforest. In South America, I studied the tiny bee hummingbird. It is only about 6 centimeters long. In a rainforest on the other side of the world, I studied the Australian cassowary. Those birds can be up to 2 meters tall. That's taller than many adult humans. Birds also have many different colored beaks and wing sizes. Each bird has traits that helps it survive in its environment. For instance, their beak style will help them find or eat food. And right away, I had a connection now to the toucan, which had this very long beak, and it made me wonder if maybe it needs to have that very long, sharp beak, maybe to break open maybe certain nuts, or to pick certain fruits maybe off of trees. Um, just something that I'm kind of using my schema to think about um, as I read this. And up at the top there, it says an ornithologist studies bird adaptations. So, boys and girls, as we go through, if you happen to enjoy when we're talking about different birds, maybe this is something that you could see yourself doing someday. So what I would like for you to do now is to flip to page 188, and I would like for you to answer questions number 1 and 2. making sure you're restating and using complete sentences. And you're going to use the paragraph on page 187 to help you answer these questions. Number 1 says, what is one of the differences between a bee hummingbird and a cassowary? So that's definitely a right there question where you can go right back into the text to find that answer. Number 2 says, what does the ornithologist say that all birds have in common? Okay, so another one that you can go right back there in the text to find your answer to. All right, so what I'd like for you to do now is to pause the video one last time, and you can go ahead and answer questions 1 and 2 in your workbook. Okay, welcome back, boys and girls. I hope you were able to answer questions 1 and 2. As always, if there was anything throughout this lesson that you had a question with or you were unsure of, please message both myself and Miss Fox so that we can help clarify things for you guys. Okay. So just to finish up today, I want you guys to look down at the question on the bottom of page 188, and that's our essential question. And that's really, as we always say, that's the main thing that we want you guys to take away from this unit. If we can finish this unit and you guys can answer this question, then we know that you took away from this what we want you to. So the essential question for this unit is, how do adaptations help plants and animals survive? So again, what I would like for you to do is to answer that question to the best of your ability, and then we will review it. And we're going to be continuing to talk about this as we go through to the rest of this week and into next. So again, how do adaptations help plants and animals survive? And not necessarily today, because it's day 1, of course, and we're just kind of going over just our introduction, but by the end of our unit, that is the question that you should be able to answer with a nice full answer. How do adaptations help plants and animals survive? Okay, so I will let you guys get back to the rest of your work now. And like I said, if you guys have any questions about today's science lesson, please make sure you send us a message. All right, bye, boys and girls.